Oh yeah. You know what this looks like to me? This looks like progress. It looks like I got the front bumper off. It looks like most of everything lined up in the last video. So, what am I here to talk about at the intro of this video? My gun. So, we're going to be doing paint, and that means that we're going to have to do a little bit of prep work. We're going to potentially have to do a little bit of wire wheeling on the bumper to knock some spatter off, to knock some junk off, blah blah blah, but ideally it's just to make it pretty. Now the thing about paint is it doesn't like oil, doesn't like grease, doesn't like anything like that. This has definitely been used on grease, and I'm an hour from the closest store to get another one, so I'm gonna clean it. And I'm just gonna do some brake clean, but what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hold it away from me. I'm gonna soak it down really good first. It's gonna spin it off. And all that's gonna do is it's hopefully gonna, jostle any of the greasy bits that are inside of this thing, and then it's just gonna fling it off. At least that's the hope, right? All right, so we're gonna walk over here real fast, and I'm gonna show you the setup. Yeah, all the way over there. I had to go pretty far away so that I didn't have to worry too much about any overspray getting on any of the other vehicles. So here we go. We're all the way over here. It's a nice setup though when you think about it. It's good and in the sunlight. See that right there? All those scratches, that's actually, get my shadow out of the way. That's actually what I want to go after. So just real quick. I gotta lean on a little bit. Just wanted to smooth that out a little bit. I'm gonna be using some self-etching primer, which is pretty thick, and it should fill in really nicely. Just knocking little pieces of spatter, real hard pieces of rough. Just trying to get it back to greaseless as we can. Well. I have to point out how good those beads look. Man, they did such a good job with this. I'm really impressed. But basically, now that you've knocked all the spots off, and thankfully they did a pretty good job with the prep work as far as cleaning all their mess up once they were done with the welds. They did pretty good about knocking slag off of the edges and stuff. This is pretty much just a paint it and put it on kind of bumper if you know your truck doesn't have any body damage or frame damage. So basically now I just want to take some of this here acetone, and I got Studio Selection 100% acetone. You want 100% because you don't want any of the perfumes or any kind of that junk, and it's cool because it's got this little doopy. So we're just gonna pat, get this thing loaded down with acetone. Do not be afraid to use acetone. And you just want to lightly try not to touch anything with your fingers. You're trying to get rid of all of the grease and oil. You don't want to add more, so just nice and gentle. And now, because of the way all of this stuff is sitting, I'm only going to be able to paint half of it. What you can see, all this stuff in here and whatnot, all the basics. And then I'm going to have to let it dry overnight and really cure up good. And then I'm going to have to, flip them over and go after it and do other stuff. But you just want to be as thorough as you can with this. Again, you can see the rag starting to turn. This is all that dirt and grease and stuff that the paint's not going to want to stick to. So again, you can see with something that's brand new, it's not that they did a bad job cleaning it or anything. It's just that it's metal. It's filthy to begin with. So you just want to, like you can see, it's just smearing this oil, this covering right on off. and that's all we want. We just want really good and clean, dry metal. So that way when we go on to this next bit and get the paint starting to stick to it, it's going to adhere. Now, like I said, I'm going to be using self-etching primer, which hopefully is going to hit this metal. And I think it's got like a slight acid or something in it that's going to like kind of eat into the metal itself, and it's going to create, you always hear people talking about the bond. Anytime you're talking about paint, clear coat, adhesives, you're always talking about the bond. So the idea is the self-etching primer will bond so much stronger than just standard primer. Now, understand, I'm not powder coating this. It's not going to be a show truck. This thing is exclusively going to be his weekend fun truck. So for all it's worth, we are only going to be Rust-Oleum rattle canning this whole setup. But I find that to be acceptable because we're gonna be taking it off. Well, he's gonna be taking it off road and stuff. And you know, you don't want to put all kinds of like expensive paint. The company that makes this bumper, they offer a powder coating option that we opted out of. We didn't select specifically because we knew this thing's going to go off-road. Powder coating is tough, but it's not indestructible. It's not invulnerable. So, you know, why put on a $500 or $300, however much it was a few $100s. Why put on stuff like that when it's just going to be destroyed to begin with? Yeah, my great camera skills at work. This thing's gonna look sick though. Like, there's no doubt. This thing's gonna be absolutely mental. I think that's about most of the stuff that I've... Get a little bit of this stuff that'll blow around off. All right, so let's go back over to the barn and let's go get some paint. We're going to, like I said, start off with self-etching primer to get that good adhesion, to get that solid bond. There's not really a whole lot I can tell you about this process. Where to start? So obviously we've started acetone. We're just going to grab 2 of these for now. So we've already gone around, we've acetoned a bunch of it. We've acetoned the spots that we're going to be getting to. So, for what it is, we're about done with that. Now we're going to start throwing some of this primer on here. And the best thing I can say is try not to get too close. Try not to spray in one spot for too long. Anything you do wrong in the primer is going to show in the final coat. So, you really want to pay attention at this point. See if I can get you guys situated up in here. Oh, you know what? That actually looks all right. Cool. So, first things first, when it comes to me and rattle canning anything, shake the can. I mean, you hear that marble's not shaking? There we go. Now that it's starting to shake, you actually want to shake this thing until you start to see the marble put little dents on this here bottom. And you'll be able to see it, but you just want to shake, 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 shake. And it always gets to be a pain to shake a rattle can because it's kind of heavy, it's annoying, it makes noise. You give it a couple of good shakes and you feel like it's good, but then it's not good. You just want to make sure that you shake it. You know, if you don't give it a good solid mixing, you're going to get more aerosol than paint. You're going to get less paint than you're meant to. You're going to get more paint than you're meant to. Like, things aren't going to be mixed well, and it's just not going to work the way it was intended to. You know what's hilarious is I can see that the overspray from this primer is going to come this way towards you guys, and it's going to paint my camera on my phone. So I'm going to move the phone. Again. All right. Okay, I think I like that. But yeah, you can kind of, I don't know if you can see it really good, but you can kind of see that rippling on the bottom where the marble has been beaten around real good. I'll go ahead and close the acetone so that I don't get anything inside of the lid and make the nozzle stop spraying. But basically just try and get good, even. You're not really going for full coverage on the first round. You're really just trying to get some up here. You want to give a good shot for a tiny bit to bite at a time. It helps with evenness too. If you do just a little at a time, it'll ultimately just cover better and it'll lay a little flatter. And don't be terribly stingy about the whole primer thing. Like you definitely want to get this thing, you know, coated. You want to get a nice smooth coat. Like I said, thankfully these things are steel, so if I mess this up, I can take their wire wheel and I can knock all that back off in just a couple of minutes. It will not take me long at all. Like, you see where I tried to smooth that out? They got a little bit of a diggy dig right there. I'm gonna have to live with that. But, you know, inside, outside, you want to make sure that you cover everything. You know, anywhere that you don't get this primer, you're gonna inevitably get rust. And to protect your investment, you definitely want to have some kind of paint all over everything inside and out. You know, Morgan spent hundreds of dollars on this thing, and I'm not trying to be the guy that loses him his investment, you know, a few years from now because it rusted at the frame because I didn't do a good job spraying. Yeah, that's starting to look pretty dang good. Not to like toot my own horn, because believe me, I'm not very good at this, but you know, it's looking pretty even. I'm not seeing a lot of high and low spots. You know, it's nice. You just a little at a time, little spritzy. Hopefully it's coming through the camera pretty good for you to be able to like really see this thing take on color. It's why I wanted to put something in the back so that once this thing dried, nice and warm sunlight hitting it, once this thing dried, I wanted you to see just how much smoother it's going to look overall, because they really outdid themselves with these pieces. They welded all this together. This piece looks like it was put in a metal brake and bent. This piece looks like it was welded. I can see little bits of porosity on it from where they had welded it together and then ground it smooth, but that's the thing. They ground everything smooth. Like, that's not a common thing. Like, I'm pretty impressed. This is one of those situations where a company gets a certain reputation because they do what they're supposed to do without having to be told, you know? Again, earlier with the hardware in part 1, it was just such a pleasant surprise to open that whole box and see that the hardware had been carryingly wrapped in its own box and then stuffed in a way that it couldn't fall out the box. Like, it's little things like that that a lot of big manufacturers miss out on. So to see a company that's selling an affordable product and doing it at a really nice quality, how mad can you be? The only thing I really hope at this point is I hope I do them justice. Like, I want Affordable Off-Road to maybe see this video and be like, man, that kid did a pretty good job on our bumper. You know, obviously they've got powder coating and everything, so they can do just fine, but like, I want it to be seen that we're taking the time and effort to really make this thing look good. Of course, I'm probably going to do a tiny touch of wet sanding here and there and just smoothing stuff out tomorrow, and then we'll probably start putting some of the black on it tomorrow if we can. What I'd like to have happen, since this is all out in the sunlight and metal gets pretty hot in the sun, I'm hoping this stuff will dry pretty quickly so that I can before the end of the day manipulate these pieces and get them turned around to a different orientation so that I can paint the rest of the stuff that I miss. This centerpiece is going to take quite a few rotations. I'm going to have to put it on its side, flip it over, turn it around. It's going to have to go through a bunch of stuff, but that's fine. You know, again, this is all part of being a car guy, or a truck guy rather. Just This is what it means to be an automotive enthusiast as a whole. You know, putting in a little bit of time, putting in a little bit of effort, and if you can't, pay someone to do it. Morgan's paying me to do this. He's got a job that keeps him away, so he doesn't get to do stuff on the weekends because he has kids. So I do stuff for him during the week. We get to make videos and hang out. I get to chat and listen to myself talk, which I love to do. But it's nice. I tell you what, spray painting is definitely murder on the index finger. So if you're gonna spray paint, do yourself a favor, buy yourself one of those rattle can handles. They can be just as big a pain, but they're better for fatigue. You end up making it longer in between your finger killing you. Doing it this way, you're putting all the force on your index, and it's spray, 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 spray. You know, it'll put a beating on you if you don't pay attention. You strain your hands, and then you're sore for a few days, not able to tighten things correctly. It's stupid. And the older you get, the worse it gets. Look forward to that, kids. A lot of people forget the edges of these holes. Definitely want to make sure you get good coverage, especially on the inside edges of where they've cut everything. All right. Keep on trucking. Love this. Watch, it's going to be some gnarly bug fly up into this and ruin a spot on the whole thing. This is the problem with doing everything outside. Like, I'm aware that there's lots of people that do stuff in their driveway, and you guys are probably the ones watching my videos, but like, trying to paint stuff outside is just such a pain. I can't stand it. Bugs fly into, especially bugs, a lot of bugs. A lot of bugs. I don't know what it is about the paint, but it's like the paint attracts them. The smell of the paint just gets them riled up, and they gotta come get a piece. Aggravating ass insects. Whatever though. Again, this is just one of those times. It's kind of, the saying is, the price you pay for fun. That's it. You want it to look good, you're gonna pay for it. Whether you have to pay in frustration or out of your wallet, you're gonna pay. Don't worry. Look at that. I know you can't really see this backside, and I'm doing my awesome camera job thing where you guys are looking at a fixed position thinking, what is this guy doing? Why do I care? You don't. You don't care. At least you shouldn't. Not about this video. This isn't getting you anywhere. I'm not helping you or saving you money, am I? And let's be honest, my commentary's not great. I ain't got nothing good to say. I'm just an over-opinion, loud American fat shithead. So, you know, is what it is. I'm not political. I don't enjoy politics. Really, when I look into politics, I just think about all of the different traffic laws that aggravate me. Can't lower my car, can't have a loud car, can't tint my windows. Politics to me all just kind of boil down to a long list of shit I can't do. So I just do my best to stay under the radar, have my little bit of fun, and try not to hurt anybody in the process. And it's hard because, you know, I think about a lot of stuff throughout the day, you know, and Again, I'm not some great philosopher that knows all or even knows any, doesn't know all, or can't even really say I know anything, but, you know, just the long and short of life, I like to think we need to focus more on enjoyment, you know? Go get a new stereo for your car, go get some speakers, go get a set of wheels. I mean, do something to enjoy something. Don't sweat the petty things and don't pet the sweaty things. This is one of my favorite sayings I've ever heard in my life. And you know, when it comes to life, especially this car stuff, you know, you get hit with curveballs all the time. You know, paint doesn't want to stick, parts don't come in on time. Life largely is the same thing. You know, it's a person going through a period of time pretty much compiling a list of shit they don't like. And that's the thing. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that gets stressed that shouldn't be stressed, and then there's stuff that doesn't get stressed that should be stressed. So at the end of the day, instead of trying to make anybody happy, just make yourself happy. Build your car the way you want to build it. Modify your truck the way you want to do it. If the cops give you tickets for it, pay them, whatever. You know, don't let anybody get you down because you're thinking different from the rest of the people around you. You don't have to be a cookie cutter fucking cutout of, you know, Barbie and Jan from down the street. Like, you be your own person. You do your own shit. If you think you've got an idea and you want to see it come to fruition, do it. Do it. You know, I don't really make any money off this YouTube stuff. I don't have any ads or any monetization or anything. I'm a nobody. I'm a nobody. And really the only support I get are the support from my friends and the people I've met on Instagram. And, I mean, that's been plenty. I love these people, you know. Guys and girls I've never met in my life, probably won't ever be able to go to their part of the world, but yet here we all are. We're all just trying to have fun and do something new and like leave our mark on the world. And I do it through cars, you know. When I've got friends like Morgan that can't do this stuff for themselves, I get to do it. And I get to leave a little piece of myself and a little piece of my style and, you know, my time. I just, it's so nice to see something come together like this. And it's so nice to know that a piece of something that I've worked on is going to live on. Like, I'll tell you, this bumper, with how sturdy this thing's built, I promise you, this bumper will probably outlast the truck. No, it will. I'm sure it'll outlast the truck. Unless Morgan, like, drives down the road and just pulls the bolts out and waits for it to fall off, I don't think this bumper's ever coming off that truck. And that's good. You know, that's what we're hoping for when it comes to buying this stuff. As enthusiasts, we don't want to spend money and get a subpar product. Like, you know, in this day and age, one thing I can speak on is money. Money has never been my favorite thing, but it has always been a very important thing for everyone. You gotta be able to pay your way. You gotta pay for your power. You gotta pay for your fuel, your car, your parts, your insurances, all that different stuff. You gotta do all that. And it's like, I don't know, enjoy a little bit. Enjoy that hard work. Buy something you like. Buy something that's gonna make you smile every time you start it, every time you jump into it. I was gonna say, this actually looks pretty good. It looks a little, yeah, I'm gonna have to wet sand that just a touch, I think. It did dry as quick as I was hoping. I'm stoked on that. Yeah, what I'll probably do is in the morning, once this is all dried up overnight, I'll probably come out and I'll hit it with like some 800 grit, and I'll try and wet sand it down a little bit, and then I'll rinse it, and then hopefully by the time the sun comes up, a lot of it will have dried out real good, and then I'll be able to just really easily rinse it off. I mean, by the time I'm done rinsing it and setting it all back out, the sun will come up and dry it all out, and then I'll be able to put paint on it. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for just a second there. Can down. Can number 2. I am actually gonna turn this around so that I can go ahead and hit the inside. Because like I said, you want to make sure you get that good coverage I keep talking about. I know I'm going to keep sounding like a broken record, but man, let me tell you, it is definitely one of those things that you don't want to screw up. Actually, you know what? I'm going to try and get that bottom edge right there. Yeah, there we go. Sweet. Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. All right. Now, I don't really care as much if it runs on the inside, because a lot of this you're never going to see. It's also a good idea to build it up kind of thick inside, because if any time the tire decides to throw a rock or mud and all that stuff gets up in here and gets like wedged or just hits it, it's nice to have a good layer of protection on the inside so that it doesn't rust from the inside out. Good thing I'm in a ventilated area, because this little spraying into the inside of it definitely makes a whole lot of fumes. Yeah, this is looking pretty good. I'm digging it. Heck yes, I'm digging that. Those fumes though, they are not digging me. Yeah, let's get this other side done. Don't forget your edges. I know I said it already. I'm going to keep saying it. Don't forget your edges. Last thing you need is for an edge to rot and start separating a weld on, you know, some stupid stuff. Because weird stuff happens for no reason. That inside's starting to look pretty good. Oh yeah. Heck yes, this thing's actually turning out really nice. I'm a fan. I know I keep saying that, and that's mostly because I don't really know what else to say about it other than I really can't wait to see what this thing looks like. My favorite part of most builds, most parts that people create, and I know there's not many part creators out there that I'm a big fan of, but like the biggest thing I like is taking lumps of flat steel and turning them into something. It's kind of hard to do if you don't know how to do it. And I know that doesn't make sense for me to say it that way, but like, to be able to look at a flat piece of paper and know that you can fold it into a paper airplane, or to know that you can cut out and fold and do origami and all this different stuff, it's like, you can do that with steel. You might not be able to push it and fold it and stuff like that really easily, but like, you can still, where you would put a fold, put a cut it, and then weld it back together in the place you want it, and then you can shape things, and you can genuinely make something from almost virtually nothing. Actually sounds like another motorcycle's driving by. Huh. This has been a good day for biking. I've heard a lot of people out there on their motorcycles. I don't have one, not a big fan of them. Just, I like 4 wheels versus 2. It's just a preference, I guess. Like I said, you want to make sure you go around all these holes, do a really, really thorough job coating all of the edges. And then also, like, bear in mind, because of these holes, there's not really a good way to get inside of here. So, like, while I'm doing this all around different directions, I'm also coating the inside stuff that's hard to reach. Oh, that was a run. I hope that levels back out. You gotta be brisk with it. All different directions. Heck yeah, though. With a little bit of wet sanding in the morning, these things are gonna smooth out really nicely, and it's gonna go. It's gonna really go. Now, I am gonna say I'm not painting the bull bar. I'm gonna prime it. I'm probably gonna prime it off camera because you don't really need to see me prime something just to prime something. Again, this isn't really a how-to as much as it is just me vlogging, me talking while I work on people's stuff. I'm trying to get more active. I'm trying to post more is really what's happening. I'm trying to record more. I want to be more active. I want to get more content out there. I don't really care if I get famous or not. That's not really what it is. I just want to share what I do because I enjoy it. And I feel like if people record themselves doing things they like and things they enjoy, that people will inevitably like seeing someone have a good time. So, you know, we all get to have a good time. That's where I'm at. Yeah, see, this stuff dries so friggin' fast, or sets fast. I love it. This is what we're going to do. We're going to very carefully slide this bitty forward. We'll come up. Okay. No lift. Yes. Now you just want to do the inside. Get it good and coated. Once I'm done with this, I'm going to let it sit overnight, like I said. I'm going to let it sit overnight and dry out real good. I'm not sure if I'm going to take it into the barn and run the heater with it or not. It really just depends how it seems that this is going to dry by the time I go in the house tonight. But so far, it's looking really nice. Like, it's drying quick, so it should cure pretty quickly overnight, I would think, whether it's hot or not. Yep, getting paint all over my face. I can feel my eyes trying to get all sticky. Awesome. What was that saying I said? The price we pay? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Gosh, these welds look so good. I don't know if this is an enthusiast shop. I imagine it's an enthusiast shop. I wouldn't imagine that this is some Chinese company that built this. This has got to be a bunch of guys that want to just give people good parts for reasonable money. And like, understand, this isn't a factory bumper, so you're not going to buy this bumper off eBay for $100 and do what I'm doing. Like, this thing's like $500, but like, you got to pay to play. Yeah, make sure to get all the nooks and crannies. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a fan. That's 2 cans. Look at this. What are we looking at? Oh my goodness, we're at 40 minutes. But look at that. It's just smooth. I like it. It's the beauty of self-etching primer. It kind of just does the work for you. course, like I said, I'm going to hit it with a little bit of wet sand first thing in the morning and like just kind of knock some of the overspray dust off, because that is a thing with this. Go ahead and grab all this. We're going to let this sit outside, but man, look at that. God, yeah. So I'm going to cut the video here. We're gonna come back tomorrow, and I'm gonna show you the little bit of wet sanding after it's dried overnight, and we'll start the paint. And then part 2 of this video will be paint, primer and paint with a little bit of prep, and then part 3 will be final assembly, installation, fitment check, and then there will be a 4th video for wiring up the winch. So if you've enjoyed what you've seen so far, you know, try to stick around. But on that bombshell, I'm going to cut it here, and I'll be back in just a flash to start on sanding. Okay, so, as I'm sure you're going to hear in the background, the wind is pretty ferocious today, so I have moved everything to underneath of this section of the barn. I'm not going to do any wet sanding, actually. I got to looking at it. The surface came out pretty good. These little bits of high and low spots, I'm not too terribly worried about. That should cover really nicely. So now we're just going to go ahead and throw some paint on it. And then I'm going to leave all these lights on it. And I know you can't really tell because it's pretty dang dim in here thanks to the backdrop being so lit up. Matter of fact, let me grab you guys real quick and we'll just try and tool around this whole thing. Okay. See all my lights? Okay, so you'll see. Actually turned out pretty good. I mean, a little bit of bird poopy. I already hit that with some acetone and stuff. And be careful with acetone because it'll eat through the primer and it'll pull it back off if you're not careful. But I'm pretty satisfied with how it looks. If I get some paint on it early this afternoon or early this morning like I'm trying to, I'll be able to get most of this stuff that you can see dry. And then once all this is dry, I can like flip it over, move it around, and do all kinds of stuff to manipulate it to get to the other spots I couldn't reach this time. However, we're going to go with some Rust-Oleum gloss. Nothing special because this is, like I said earlier, going to be an off-road oriented thing. Actually, you know what? I know the lighting in the back's not great, but this angle, let's see what this looks like. See if I can get this to set. Y'all gotta love my camera skills. I'm so good at this. Okay, let's drop this up just a bit. All right, cool. So we're gonna start there, and I'm just gonna, you know, do a little bit of light painting. Now, like I said before, with the primer, you want to make sure that you absolutely shake these things to death. You want to make sure everything's really nice and mixed. There's, you know, some kind of diluting agent in there. I don't know if it's acetone or what it is, but anyway, you just want to, same thing as the primer. Do a little bit at a time, just get some color on it. You don't want to go absolutely bonkers trying to cover real thick right out the gate. You know, you just want to real gentle. Try not to get too far in there. How are we looking? Hey, that looks pretty good. All right, cool. Oh no, there's a piece of pookie I didn't see. Where's my rag? That's okay. I hate these birds out here. They are so annoying. Good thing this is going to be one of the wings, right? We don't have to worry about seeing too much of it. Alright, cool. Whatever. Watch the poop disappear. Just get nice coverage. You don't want to go crazy on that first coat. Just nice coverage. Just get the color on there. If you're really trying to go for a super glossy finish, all of that comes later on. Once this is dried, you know, you can gently take some paint, you can gently take some rubbing compound, some polishing compound, and you can polish on this stuff and sand it really good, but I'm not really too worried about that, you know. I just want it to look fair. so that when it goes off-road the first few times, it's like, oh, look, it's a new bumper, that's cool. And then, of course, it gets beat up, and then it's like, oh, well, look, he actually uses that bumper. I get there's a truck following. I know a lot of people like trucks. I don't care much for trucks personally. I use them as a tool. But as far as a truck enthusiast, I'm really not much of a truck enthusiast. Like, I think I've had a couple of pickup trucks over the years that have had four-wheel drive and have been lifted and such, and I don't know. I just like cars. Cars are what get me. I'm not real sure if it's because me and my dad used to clash a lot when I was younger. I mean, what teenager doesn't clash with his dad? But I clashed with my dad because he wanted me to drive trucks, and I'm like, no, I want cars. And, you know, I never really had a good car that I really wanted until I started getting into Volkswagen, and then, of course, everything became Volkswagen. But, you know, we're not here on this particular set of videos with a Volkswagen. We're doing stuff for a Chevrolet. Yeah, just a little bit of color. Just to get something bonding on there. We ain't trying to go nuts. Remember, light layers. Trying to do better with the camera work too. I know I have an awful habit of being very just off of what I'm trying to look at or do. But, you know, you gotta get good at it sometime. Stupid lid. You gotta get good at it sometime, and really, the easiest ways to get good at anything are to really just throw yourself into it and start doing it. So here we are. The more video filming I do, hopefully, the easier, more naturally, I'll be able to, you know, muscle memory where the camera needs to be when I'm trying to look at something that's directly in front of me. I don't know if you guys have this problem. I'm doing everything with my camera. You hear that wind? I'm doing everything with my camera off my phone, so when I hit the film button, it zooms in further than what it normally would for a picture, and it's kind of tasteless because it makes it a little bit of a pain. But what are you gonna do? This is what I've got to use, and I want to do this. I want to be onto this YouTube thing and share my experiences and share what I get to do here. And even if that means I've got to bring you along for all the crappy video, it's gonna be what it is, because eventually I'll get good at it. You know, you do something enough times, you're bound to get good at something. Yeah, just a little bit of paint. Like I said, you'll see all this stuff, all these high and low spots. Not too terribly worried about that. You'll start to see that stuff fill in as I get more paint on it. So if you start seeing, you know, weird coverage, don't immediately freak out unless you're starting to see fish eyes. And thankfully, I did all this stuff as smoothly as I could. I used plenty of acetone to clean the base material. So the hope for me is that there's not going to be any fish eyeing anywhere on this. Get ready for the glares and all the other junk. Yep. Getting a little bit on there. We're already about halfway through this can. We got 6 cans. I'm hoping that because it's a pretty nice darker green for the self-etch, it'll cover pretty well, and it'll be, you know, a dark color over top of a darker color. Well, a darker color over top of a dark color, but you know what I mean. It'll be a dark base, so it'll actually be really easy for the black to cover and not see any weird holidays, or I don't know if you guys call them holidays, but I call it a holiday from my grandfather calling it a holiday, because you must have been on holiday when you painted it if you missed a spot. Thought that was hilarious as a kid. So anytime I miss a spot, I call that a holiday. because I don't, you know, where was I to have missed that? And as well, when it comes to the paint, you want to be way more careful about trying to get down into each of these holes. You want to like get real close up to it, because if you mess up and you spray too much around the hole on this outside plate, you're going to see it as a run. You know, even though this isn't going to be Picasso, even though this isn't going to be show truck quality, runs just look bad. And you can save yourself a lot of time if you end up taking, you know, these steps and doing a little at a time. Because once this dries, it may look rough at first, but as long as you've got good coverage and you've got plenty of paint and a good, you know, few layers, you can always, like I said, polish this down. And that's ultimately what I'm going to do. I'm going to get this stuff sprayed in pretty good. It's going to have a slight textured look to it. And of course, the lighting out here is just god-awful. I've already got my camera on and it's hard, or my light on for my phone, and it's already not helping. So, you know, we're just doing what we can. You want to just make sure that you go nice and even, because eventually this stuff will start to fill in and you won't see as many of those high and low spots. You won't see as many of those odd, you know, shiny, not shiny spots. As you go, this stuff will fill in and it'll just cover. And that's when you're going to start to notice that glossiness. And then, of course, like I said, polishing, the end result, will always bring it to a far better shine. Now, I don't know, the wind's kicking up again. I don't know how many people really talk about it or anything, but one of the big things about Rust-Oleum that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that Rust-Oleum does not get hard. It dries, but it doesn't cure and get hard like an automotive paint will. Rust-Oleum stays soft. So you have to take that into consideration when you're using it, because you're never gonna get that super duper hard powder coat or gloss shell. Like, it's always gonna be on that softer end. And so keeping that in mind, you know, use Rust-Oleum with a grain of salt. You don't, it's hard to explain, because I've used Rust-Oleum on cars for years. I've Rust-Oleum'd about 1,000 wheels, and I just love it because Rust-Oleum is cheap. You know, you start putting Rust-Oleum on stuff, yeah, you can kind of try and say somebody's being cheap about it, but I mean, if you do it right, it'll look good for a while. And if you do it right, you'll be able to redo it a bunch of different times before you end up having to just completely strip everything off and completely restart. If you take the time to spray this stuff on nice and thick and then worry about it shining afterwards once it's dried, you're just going to save yourself some trouble, because you can chase these high and low spots down as much as you want, but every little bit of spray you put one spot, you're going to overspray on another spot, and it's just going to look bad as you continuously go through. So just nice even patterns, sprays. You want to try and keep the same distance away from the middle all the way across your point. But like I said, you know, there's going to be overspray. There's going to be stuff you can't help. You see, now it's starting to get that richer black to it. Yeah. And of course, it's wet, so it's going to look extra shiny. You know, anything that's wet looks way better than what it's going to look when it's dry. Oh, yeah. Come back on this side. Go ahead and start getting a little bit more of this. Now, as far as all these insides go, you're not really going to see them, but you definitely want to try and get some kind of paint up in here, because once this thing has the winch mounted up here, you're not really going to be able to get around the sides of it real easy. So if you don't coat all of this stuff real good from the get-go, you're going to wind up with rust. And that was where I was talking about earlier in part one, you know, or not part one, earlier when I was cleaning everything, you want to make sure that you get this coverage so that you're preserving your investment. Yes, if you go off-road, you are bound to damage your vehicle. You are bound to damage the paint on the bumper. However, the inside rotting to the outside is far worse, in my opinion, than having some surface scratches around. And, you know, those surface scratches, you can take another can of Rust-Oleum, spray it all down with the water hose or pressure washer real good, and then you can touch it back up. This inside stuff, though, when it starts to rot, that's it. That's done. It's hard to get up in there. And I really shouldn't have to worry about too much of this here, but I'm just doing it because I can. You know, I want to be as thorough as possible on film. Ah, see, I hit that a little bit. That's going to be a run. Well, that's okay, because there's a piece that mounts on this, so I'm not too worried about that right there either. I'm more worried about getting the paint in here to just cover than I am anything. The outside matters far more as far as beauty goes than the inside. The inside, all about that coverage. Protect that investment. Don't screw it up. We're almost out of the first can, so we're getting there. Yeah. Hit this end cap again. Go ahead and try and burn down the last of this. The only reason I'm really worried about inside of here, but not worried about runs and stuff, is because those 3 holes, they're going to line up. And they're going to bolt there onto this, so the whole thing's going to get wide. So this is in between 2 pieces of metal that are being bolted together. I'm trying to build this up thick so that there is plenty of paint there to squish and like complete the seal. Yeah, look at that, look at that, look at that. Oh yeah. Oh, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Done. All right, can number 2. So I'm going to spray a little bit more. I'm going to try and get that winch plate up inside of there. And then I'm going to try and get that right side. And then I'm going to let it dry for a while so that I can come back out later this evening and flip it all around and redo it. It's supposed to be like 80 today, so there should be, with all this lights in the back. They don't look like it. They're not heat lamps specifically, but they put a lot of heat out on what they're pointed at. So I'm going to keep those on for the better part of the day so that it'll kind of bake, in a sense, this paint onto the primer, because, you know, cold paint's never great paint. But oh yeah, love this. It's nothing like seeing gloss black start to like really take hold. It's such a clean, simple color. You know, black goes with everything, so that granddad ass gold, champagne, whatever color that Morgan wants to, or GM wants to call that blazer. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks good. Yeah, look at that. A little bit of Rust-Oleum goes such a long way. And now, like I said, you know, we've got some good paint on here, so we can start to go a little thicker. You don't want to go crazy thick, because it does still have to cure, and if you go too thick, it'll cause the layer you just put on to wrinkle, and that wrinkle is terrible. You basically just have to completely resand it and take it all off and start all over again. Yeah. How's that camera looking? Good. We ain't even got no overspray on the phone. We are doing awesome at this. Look at that. Although I can't really help the haze. I wish I could help the haze. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yep, that's black. I like it. Now we get to go up in here. See if I can get behind them lights. Yeah, buddy. Cannot wait till later on tonight when everything dries off just a little bit. I'll be able to really show you the shine of everything. You get on a glare, you can kind of see your high and low spots as you go. And if you're good, and I'm not good, so you're going to see the high and low spots. But if you're good, you can gauge that, and you can kind of like play with your angle and how far away you are on things, and potentially you can spray stuff in really good and easy. I'm probably not going to waste my time showing you guys the spraying of the inside. Really, I'm just trying to show you the outside. And it's not really going to take effect of how good it looks until it's on the truck. But man, I think this is going to be a lot of fun. I think Morgan's going to love it. I think Affordable Off-Road is really kicking out a quality product. Because, I mean, every aspect of this thing has been really easy to work with. Everything came packaged beautifully. Everything came, like, ready to assemble. All the holes that have been cut very well. Like, everything is so good. Alright. But yeah, I'm going to skip showing you the insides of these bumpers and all the inside plates of this. Basically, like I said, just get up close to the hole and then spray. Try not to get any of the paint on the hole if you can help it, because you don't want runs or anything like that, but you're going to get runs on the inside no matter what you do. I mean, you can try doing little quick spritz pulses and stuff, but you're still bound, because you're not moving. You're still bound to get some runs on the inside. So don't sweat that. The inside won't really matter much. That's just about protecting the metal from rust. You know, once you get the inside done enough, ain't nobody gonna look at that. They're gonna look at the outside. They're gonna look and see what you're doing with the truck, not what you did to paint the bumper, you know. Not a show truck. Effective and good, not show truck. Yeah. All right. Well, that's about 1.5 cans across all these 3 pieces. I'm going to do that later when I'm done flipping this stuff around so that I can better position everything. So, well, let me get on the other side. Yeah, shiny, shiny. So I'll put another layer on everything off camera in just about an hour. I'll come back and top it up a little bit. But largely, I'm going to cut for now, and I'll come back later this evening when I can flip everything over and do all the stuff I missed from the current position. Alright, so it's been a few days, and I unfortunately did not get to stay on this as much as I'd wanted. But we're back to finish it up, and we've flipped everything over. I know it doesn't look immediately great because it's covered in shit, and I'm going to have to do some stuff, but we're ready to do the insides and try to do some better stuff. That's not too bad. It's not perfect, but like I said, we were never trying to go for perfect. It's less good than I wanted, but given the state of things, the amount of effort and work it went into trying to just be able to get the weather right, and when I say work and effort into getting the weather right, I mean stress. I mean stressing about whether or not the weather's going to cooperate. Today was just the first nice day in a little over a week. And so I think this is going to end the painting video. You know, I just wanted to point out that you want to get up inside of these holes. You want to get inside, outside, everything that you can get. If you can put your eyes on it and you can see that there's no paint on it, get paint on it. Stay tuned for part 3. Part 3 is going to be where we put this on that blazer. You can just barely see the back glass, but this is going on that blazer, and it's going to be pretty cute. Once it's on, I'll be able to do like some finite, you know, wet sanding here and there, and then do a little bit of polishing, but for the most part, other than this piece here, it's coming together really nicely. Alright, thank you for watching part 2. If you liked, subscribe. If you didn't like it, tell me why you didn't like it. I'd love to know. Obviously, you can keep comments of my bad camera skills to yourself, because I'm aware. That's not going to get any better, because I'm ADD and don't have money for better cameras and stands and all that other stuff. So, on that bombshell, I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks for sticking around. Have a nice one.